I don't know about you, but peace of mind these days has become a very rare gem. And yes, we all pray for the end of external wars. And indeed, this is my daily, almost hourly prayer too. Yet, most of us have only ever known internal war. So this war that is internal is not shared misery. It's unique to the individual. Yet, when people maybe pray over us and they say, "You have healed," I truly believe that healing takes sustained effort. Or some people say, "You have now recovered." But recovery and healing, are they the same? I'm sure you'll say they're not, because healing sounds really divine, and yes, it is. But are you really, really ready to heal, to take that journey internally? Hi everyone, I am Toyin Okunuga. I am your Hosh to Raw Girl. I'm your self-realization mindset expert, particularly when it comes to adverse childhood experiences. And if you have been on the journey with me for so many years now, you will know that I talk about my story, all the experiences I've had, but most importantly, my journey. And I say my recovery, and sometimes I say my healing journey. But to be fair, it is actually healing. What does the Merriam-Webster dictionary say? I've got again here my slides that I'd like to share with you so you can listen back and watch the slides. So I'd like to make that distinction between recovery and healing. So, recovery. Recovery, this is to regain consciousness. So if maybe one has fainted and you are awoken by someone, a medical practitioner, then they'll say, "Oh, she has or he has gained consciousness. You have now recovered." It's regain health or strength after sickness or injury. So it's like a comeback. It's a return, a regain. In other words, it's returning to what you used to be before you were maybe unconscious. It's a recuperation. So I would say that recovery in that respect is getting back to what we were familiar with. Go back to what we were comfortable with. So that is recovery in a nutshell. What about healing? Oh, healing, just saying healing, it sounds divine, and it so is. But that divine healing is what people say of God. But I can tell you also that it is that internal healing, an inner knowing. And what does the Merriam-Webster dictionary say healing is? So in a lot of narrative psychology within the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it's defined as following. Healing is a holistic, transformative process. It is personal. It is innate or naturally or occurring. It is multidimensional. It is all aspects. And I emphasize multidimensional because what? It involves a repair and recovery. There is recovery in healing, but there's a repair of what? The multidimensional mind, body, and spirit. Yeah. So that is healing. It is so innate that it's an inner knowing. It's from within, and it's a transcendence from suffering to wholeness. So that is the difference between recovery and healing. So in a nutshell, I would say recovery is important, but it's not permanent. In an area, if you've got some serious mind, body, and spirit healing to do, the recovery will just make you be back to where you used to be, comfortable. But healing, it's essential because it lasts forever. And I'm talking about this topic today, which is your optimal healing to life's meaning, because this is the journey I had to take. And when I started, I thought we will do a bit of recovery. And when I was telling people about how I wanted to share my story, people were chopping some bits off and were saying, Toyin, you know, you've got so many aspects to your childhood that have affected you in your adulthood. Why don't we just take that away, because that's too much shame, or take that away? And then I was going to go that way, but I had an inner knowing that I needed transformative processes to take place within my life, which were multi-dimensional, for me to have that holistic healing. So I had to listen to that voice within my head, which I will say the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, because I'm a Christian, and I believe it was the Holy Spirit. Even at the time, I did not think it was. I did not know, because I drifted so far away from God. The relationship I have with God now was not always like this. But when I had that inner knowing, I knew I had to heal holistically. So where does that healing come from? You can only heal holistically if you are ready to be authentic. Now, knowing that you need to have life's meaning, the meaning to your situation, you have to delve deeper into you to heal. And that was the only way I could do that, for me to know that everything I've gone through, there has to be a meaning from my suffering for it to be worth my while. And it sounds like, yes, oh wow, it was not linear. It was not comfortable, but I knew that I was not enjoying the life I wanted to enjoy. And that's why, through my research over 15 years, I believe and I know that I am an expert in this field when it comes to healing from adverse childhood experiences. So authenticity is the first definition to that inner healing. When people say now you are healed, you will have to be true to you. You have to be authentic to who you are. And authenticity, what does it do? It removes regret. Now, when I was doing one of my psychology courses, there was a case study where there were questions from an interviewer to this lady who was looking after the dying. Yes, dying. Apologies, it sounds very morbid. And sometimes we have to think that far, like beginning with the end in mind, as one of my very beautiful authors, Stephen Covey, said in the 7 Habits of is it a successful person or something like that. And he said, begin with the end in mind. So being this case study, the lady said she was asking the dying people what their regrets were. She asked a lot of people to say what their 3 regrets were in this hospice. It was, so people that were dying. And yes. And the guy that was interviewing her said, oh, were these the answers? So he preempted what the answers might be. And he said, were one of the regrets that they didn't make enough money? He went on to say, or that they didn't work enough hours, or they didn't have enough holidays, vacations, or maybe not enough homes that they had built to live in. And she said, not even close. And she said the answers that were given when she asked these dying patients were one of them said, I wish I'd had the courage to live a true life, a life true to myself, not the life expected of me by others. And she also said, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. This was an old lady on her bed who was at the end of her life. And she then said, I wish that I had let myself be happier. And for me, when I read these, it brought me to tears. But some of my tears were happy tears, to say, oh, Lord Jesus, I will no longer have the regrets. Because once upon a time, over 15 years ago, I would cry and cry and cry to say, I'm going to go to my grave with these secrets of mine that are killing me softly, so to say, in installments. because my life, I could not give meaning to it because I was conforming. So a lot of us today, I believe we are conformism. We have a conformism nature. Conformism means wishing to do what other people do. I was like that, and it was only bringing me more misery. And some of us are even totalitarianisms. That's a mouth twister. It's a tongue twister. And what does that mean? It means to do what other people wish for us to do. Now, I did this because I was covering other people's shame. Where they should heal from what they were suffering, I carried it for them. So I carried other people's shame because I was a middle child, and I was born out of wedlock. A lot of people were ashamed of that for me and said that I should not say this in public. Or if I were with my siblings, I should say that we are from the same dad, so that I would not bring shame to the family, because there will be a lot of uncomfortable questions. And I did this for so long, but I felt so unhappy. Now, this is like almost like a paradox, because even though I wanted to be that way, because I didn't want to be with a father that was truly my dad. Why? Because he sexually abused me. My head was all messed up. So that was a huge aspect of shame on me, where I could not even say or heal from this abuse that had twisted my personhood. I could not heal because I was also told not to talk about that. Well, in fact, I didn't even have to be told not to talk about it. I was full of shame. I was riddled and marinated in my trauma that I could never say that I was sexually abused, particularly by my father, because it brought so much shame to me. And I was always crying at night for years, and it was down-regulating my immune system. And this was not me. I was living in constant cognitive dissonance. My character was an authentic one, but my life situations had taken me to a place where I could not live true to me, because I was either being a totalitarianism way of living, I had that way of living, or I had conformism, wishing to do how other people were doing because of my life situation. Now, to have a holistic healing meaning to your life, this is not the way forward. And that's why I've brought you here today to say, listen to me, because my life experiences have been maybe somewhat like yours, because let's face it, life only promises us life. There'll be twists and turns that we have to heal from, not just recover, but heal. So as I explained, when I was growing up, I was in constant distress. Some people would see it, some people would not. But I knew there was an inner war within me, because I could not say what I wanted to say. I was traumatized. I didn't even know I was traumatized, because I was behaving okay outside. But inside, I would cry. I would be so depressed. And all the symptoms of depression were riddled within me and within my environment. And I was exhibiting those throughout my relationships. And that's why I advocate strongly for childhood sexual abuse to be tackled head on, because of the long lasting effect it has that stops us. It hinders us from being authentic, which then hinders us from healing to live a life of meaning. So to live a life of meaning, if you have not experienced any adverse childhood experiences, then bingo, that's fine. I'm sure you're already living authentically. There's no reason why you wouldn't. And maybe you'll stumble and turn, but you will always get back to your original state of equilibrium, or maybe not original state, but a place where you can live to fulfill your utmost creative life. Now, if reverse is the case, like mine, you cannot just recover, because when you recover, it means maybe you are just going back to where you were comfortable and not going inside of you to get all the pain out, and in my case I'll say for Jesus, in my case, to heal me, because he already died for me. I don't have to die again whilst I'm still living, because to be fair, it was an oxymoron. I was living, but I was dying. I knew that I had to heal, but other things externally were stopping me, because I was thinking, I can't do this, my children, my this. But we all have to heal to break the generational curse, so that we can stop these horrific things that are happening. And that's when life will have meaning. When you heal yourself, it was just happening. When I started to heal, I knew I couldn't keep it to myself. And now I give talks. I could never look you in the eye. I could never speak in schools. Now I go and give talks, and my life has meaning. And everything that happened to me, I wouldn't say that that's the reason why I'm doing this. I believe that reason, that everything happened to me, was a detour. I was always meant to do what I'm doing now, but now everything that I've been through gives me a reason to have more empathy. It brings me to my knees. It humbles me. It makes me understand other people's suffering. And that's the meaning I give to my situation. And that's what I'd like to implore with everyone now today, because there's so much devastation happening. There's so much depression, anxiety, and sadly, suicidal thoughts that are optimally leading to suicide. And I want to please beg you today that the situation you're in, you, with the help of others, can come out of it. It doesn't have to be permanent. What's happening to you, I don't understand it, and I'm sure you don't. But I just want to plead with you that you get to the bottom of it and start to do things little by little. And there is, I promise you, a meaning for your suffering. But you are the only one who can see the meaning by the help of others, and knowing that once you heal, there will be a bigger purpose for your meaning, and you were always meant to be here no matter what you're going through. And that is reversing the trauma. And how do you reverse the trauma? Talking is the reversal of trauma. You have to give that meaning to the situation you're in. So there's a lot of books that I've read over the years, because I needed to heal, and I knew that everything was within me to heal. Now, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not saying you should do it on your own. But I know that when you seek help, even if you seek help and you have therapists and you have a regular therapist you go to, if you don't get to the bottom of what's really hurting you, the therapist can only do so much. They might be able to get you from -5 to 0, which is a slippery slope to be on, because you can get back if that is interpersonal and the person that's hurting you is still in your heart and soul, the way it was in mine. For you to get from 0 to +5, you have to heal the inner wounds so that you can thrive and not simply survive. So a famous, or I would say one of my lovely authors and psychologists and neurologists was Viktor Frankl. He was an Austrian Holocaust survivor, and his book, in Man's Search for Meaning, it brought me to my knees. It made me understand my life better. He said, he who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. I'll say that again. So he who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. So once you find meaning to your life, all the struggles you are going through will not be why me. It will be, what's in that to teach me? And I know it's so difficult when you're in the thick of it. There's no logical reasoning for it. It has to be something that you have to find a survival state first before you put a reinterpretation on that suffering. I understand that, because I've been in a type of suffering for a long time before I got to redefine the meaning of my situation. So understanding or reinterpreting one's condition such that there's a new sense of purpose found. So I found a new sense of purpose when I started to heal. I started to be more authentic, which was always within me. I started to be happier with my children and my family. And with some family members, it was a struggle because of the type of trauma I had was interpersonal. And some family members, I had to sort of like be at a distance. Some friends I had to let go. Some I had to embrace and heal. So healing is actually restoring relationships, but it's also letting go of some. It meant I had to forgive, but still just not be too trusting of others. But I still had to go deep. So suffering ceases to be suffering in some way, in the moment. It finds a meaning. And that's the meaning I found, that I've been through everything. Now I have to help myself, my children, and a lot more people. There's an inner knowing. And that's why I stand and say, I am so confident and competent with what I'm doing because of that inner knowing. Nothing outside of me matters now, because I'll have no regrets because of my authenticity of accepting that what happened to me happened. It hurt, but now I am healed. And that's when you have meaning. It's not staying there. It's seeking help and saying, no, I'm not going to take my life, because my life has meaning. I was once in the dark place where, yes, I sadly would say my life is no longer worth living for. But how would you know? Please stay and find out. And you will be a blessing to yourself, to your family, to all those people who love you, because I love you too. And then you can be a testimony to others. Oh, that is so huge. Because I feel it now with my Hoshtarol. Please get your Hoshtarol so you can see a reason why you should live, because your life is worth living. Please, please, when you're going down, speak to someone. Don't be vulnerable. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is strength. Please reach out. So the wholeness to be whole from brokenness, there are 4 aspects. There's internal, your inner healing. There's interpersonal, speaking to someone who's hurt you, and if it's dangerous to do so, write it down and throw it away. Healing relationships is key, but also healing can be letting go. Organizations, maybe a church or anything, bring it to their attention if it's safe to do so. Behavioral. Are you now a positive-minded person? Little steps. Say the positive before the negative. Those little steps will help your mind to reconfigure and wire and fire new neurons. I did a lot of certificates in psychology, and this is where all my academic reasoning is from. But my experience, that's unique to me. Now, behavioral is key, because once you have that positive mindset, you believe that everything is happening and you can pull through. It's that integrative care, and it's external that you need to heal from. So those external spaces, yes, you can heal from. But most importantly, if you want to get to that level, join me today in enrolling in the inner work strategy that I take you through. I take you from model to model. You can enroll in one, which is re-engineering the mind through my psychology certificates, but most importantly, my experience. And I am a long life learner. I never stop learning. I am current. I read, research, revisit everything to see that it's current and it's true to you. I customize it to you and not blanket the programs. It's got to be unique to your healing, because we together will heal you. I take you from shifting your mindset from just being stuck here to having a growth mindset. Why? Because the only constant thing in life is what? Change. I will tell you all my life's experience. I will show you videos. I will also read letters that are personal to me. And I'll also get you from inner wounds to inner wisdom. So guys, the information's on the screen. My number, contact me. Stay with me on this journey. We have to heal. We have to teach the upcoming generation to be resilient, but we have to teach them the compassion, empathy, and to show them that they've got every right to be here and to live, to fulfill all that is within them. I love you guys. And remember, your inner child, it has a voice. Don't suppress it.